The lady from Guinness called me, and she said, we just sent you the book. And I said, I just got it. She goes, well, look on page 38. So I flipped over page 38, and there was a little blurb right there. And it says, Jay Lowe and Ted Jacobs drove through the 48 states using X number of gallons of gas for the record. I said, that's an answered prayer. She goes, well, yeah. Flip it over to 37. I flipped over. They gave us the whole page.
Welcome to the MyPro Show. Keep going to the MyPro Show. Let's get the MyPro Show. To the MyPro Show. Keep going.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back to the MyPro Show, episode 6. Our guest today is Jay Lowe. And the title of today's podcast is Dream Chasers versus Dream Talkers. Today's guest is someone I've had the privilege of knowing for over 30 years, and I can tell you firsthand, this man is the definition of a dream chaser. He's a retired and incredibly successful insurance professional, a leader in his church and community, and someone whose positivity has influenced people for decades. But what really makes his story remarkable is the way he lives life with boldness and intention. We're talking about an 8-day camel trek through the wilds of Mongolia, a 7-day journey down the Amazon River, 196-mile hike across Bangladesh, and a 6,500-mile expedition through the Australian outback. He's also achieved multiple Guinness Book of World Records. This one might be the wildest. He has ridden through the eye of 17 hurricanes with the personal goal of 20. Wow. Now, just to be clear, like he says himself, he never wishes a hurricane on anyone. But if one forms, he's not running away from it. He's chasing straight into the eye of the storm. So today we're going to talk about leadership, about courage, and chasing the dreams God puts in our lives and in our hearts, and what it really takes to live a life that refuses to settle for average. Let's dive in. Welcome, Jay.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm very humbled by the fact that you've invited me to be on your show.
Man, me too, that you came in. So I love the Red Sox apparel that you're wearing. That's become, part of what we're talking about is the difference between dreamers and thinkers, basically, And, boy, you have followed those Red Sox all over the place and had some great experiences through that.
I have. I was with them during the Curse of the Bambino. I was there in 2004 when we finally broke that curse. Here lately, there hadn't been much to brag about. Somebody asked me this morning, is that all you have in Red Sox apparel? Well, my wife counted. I have 66 items in my closet. So really, it's the only thing I have to wear.
True fan.
Yeah. Win or lose, I'm wearing the Red Sox shirt, I guess. Yeah. So thanks for allowing me to wear it today.
I love it. So does your family have a hard time finding a different Red Sox paraphernalia for you?
Yeah. Well, how that is. They always renewing something. So every year for birthdays and Christmases, I can count on getting at least 3 or 4 Red Sox outfits of some sort. House shoes, bathing suits, the whole smack,
Now, you recently, I guess it'd been last season, of course, didn't you and your pastor fly out to watch the Red Sox? And he's a Cubs fan, is that correct?
Yeah, bless his heart, he's a Cubs fan.
Poor guy.
We have a tradition. We always go to where the Cubs and the Sox are playing. And so the rule is that whoever loses has got to take his jersey off and put the other guy's jersey on at the stadium, okay? And then you have to wear the jersey home on the plane. And for 4 years in a row, I've had to wear his jersey, and it's miserable.
Oh, no.
Having to wear it. And so 2 years ago, we went to Boston, and Boston lost 7-3, so I'm taking my jersey off, putting his jersey on. Everybody's laughing at you, The next night, we're already home because we came home that next morning. The next night, we beat them 17-3, and I'm thinking, where were you last night, man?
Yeah.
I needed you last night. Anyway, so we're going again this year. In fact, we play the Cubs the last series of the season.
No kidding.
Yeah, in Boston. So we shall see. I'll need a lot of prayer out there, guys.
Yeah. Speaking of bucket list, that's something that I need to start checking off. I've got a handful of stadiums, being a diehard Ranger fan,
Yeah, go
but
Rangers.
baseball fanatic.
Yeah.
Out of all other sports, hands down, that's my favorite. We have that commonality. But I'm one of those guys that has been talking about going to the stadiums, and I haven't executed. So that'll be fun.
Let me tell you about that real quick, because that's one of my bucket lists. And so this year, I'm up to, by the way, I've seen the Red Sox now in 28 stadiums.
Wow.
Okay? That was my bucket list. And this year, I will finish that when I go see the Mets and the Marlins. And when I've done that, I've done all 30, and I'm done. It's time to move on to another bucket list item. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been a great bucket list item. And the fact now that we have a lot of interleague play, it's made it, I've been able to do it a lot quicker than I was back 10 years ago when you only played National League teams every 4 or 5 years. So, yeah.
You're doing it.
Doing it. It's all going to be done this year.
Well, that's kind of a perfect interlude, if I'm using the right term, into some fun dream chasing questions.
Yeah.
That I'm going to spitball at you.
Sure.
So, you've described yourself as a dream chaser.
Yes.
Where did that mindset begin for you?
You know, that's always been my whole life. And it comes across like I'm bragging, and I'm really not. But in my mind, I always think if you've got your dream or a goal, go for it, because life's short. And you might as well. When I was a kid, I heard this poem, and it's I don't know if I have it quite right, but it says, the saddest words that have ever been penned are those sad, sad words, what might have been. Mm. And my dad always used to tell me, there's people who live a long life, and they'll live their life saying, I wish I would have, I wish I would have. And I always thought to myself, well, why not go ahead and do it, And sometimes dreams are really not that hard to chase. It takes a little bit of courage, and it takes a little bit of time. I get those things. But however, if you set your mind on it, it's doable. And that's what I've always done.
Now, did your dad do that?
No.
Did he kind of lead you in that direction?
No, he did. He led me in that direction for sure. He didn't do these things that I do, chasing all around the world, but he was always that great encourager. My dad, I can brag about my dad all along, but he's an Okinawa survivor. He fought the last battle of World War II.
I did not know that.
43-day battle, and it was so bad. I mean, everybody knows about the Battle of Okinawa, but when my dad landed on Okinawa, he weighed 165. And 43 days later, he weighed 125.
Holy moly.
Yeah, and so he's always had that mentality of, hey, this is my job, and I'm going to do it, whatever it is. So he always gave me that attitude of, doesn't matter how hard it is, you just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what God calls us to do, is just get things done, right?
And that's right. And that's true. That's true in the Christian walk, too. Witnessing is not the easiest thing in the world to do, but, hey, get out there and do it.
Yep.
And it's not easy, but you know what? Nowhere in the Bible does it say it is easy.
Yeah.
And so you either have a choice of saying, I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it. And that's true about a lot of the dreams that people have and want to chase. Well, go ahead and do that. Chase those things. And don't be one of those that says, I wish I would have. Just be one of those that, you say, man, I'm sure glad I did that. Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to have a wife that acknowledges and, for lack of a better word, allows that as well.
You sure do.
With hunting trips and surfing trips and, being a serial entrepreneur.
That's right.
It just takes a lot of time, right?
Oh, you've got a great partner in all that, too. She's an encourager, and she allows you to do those things and not complain about it.
Yeah.
But encourages you to do it, right?
She's actually kind of happy when I leave for a while, because I think I'm better in probably small doses for most people, because you and I run pretty high octane,
Yes,
so it's like,
yes.
okay, just get out of here for a minute,
It's their vacation, isn't it?
Yeah.
In fact, when I worked, I retired last December, but when I worked, I was always gone during the day, and I told her, sure, I'm going to retire. And she goes, that's fine, but you're still leaving at 8 and not coming back till 5. Okay. So I'm out looking for stuff to do.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's right. But we have some wonderful, we both married up, didn't we?
Big time.
Yeah, we did.
That's right.
God's good.
So when a big dream hits your bucket list, what does the path from idea to execution look like? So what that really means without looking at my reminders here, is what I always call paralysis from overanalysis. So you want to go
That's a good way to put it.
do something, and how do you get that first step of momentum? What does that look like in your world?
I'll give you the most recent example. 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was reading about this island. It's in the northernmost part of Norway. It's inside the Arctic Circle, and it's called the Island of No Time. And it's an island that you take a bridge over to, and those people do not have watches. They don't have clocks, nothing. They say, you know what? We're just going to live life. We're going to eat when we're ready. We're going to work when we're ready. We're not worried about time.
Wow.
The first thought I had was, well, I want to go there. Well, it's in the northern part of Norway. A lot of times people might say, well, how am I going to get to Norway? Well, you look it up, see where you can fly, rent a car, drive over there. Well, it's doable. Well, I'm going, and I want to go in January. I want to go when it's the coldest it could possibly be. And, of course, you can see the northern lights, too. So to answer your question, it's a matter of just what are the obstacles that I have to do to get there? Check it out.
Name them and get started.
Just get started. Well, I found out the flights are reasonable. I found out where they do have a rent car agency. They do have hotels there. I'm going in January.
So a detail in that bucket list journey that you stated was you want to go in the coldest time possible. Why is that?
Because that's the hardest and the most grueling time to go, so get the most out of it.
Get all of it.
Yes. Last year, I always wanted to go to Antarctica. And so, same thing. You just check it out. And sometimes people might think, go to Antarctica, that's like impossible. Actually, it's not. It's very easily done if you just check out what you got to do, those obstacles you got to go over. Well, when I found out you can go to Antarctica and you can fly in, and then you can take the boat around and see everything, the penguins, the whales, and all that. Or you can go to the southern tip of South America and go across the Drake Passage, which takes 2 days. Now, the Drake Passages are the roughest seas in the world. It's called the Drake Passage. You can have 40-foot waves.
Wow.
Well, someone said, you know what? You can just fly into Antarctica, or you can earn your way to Antarctica and do the Drake Passage.
Busted.
Yeah, and I said, okay. All right, that's what I'm going to do, because I don't want to cop out on this thing. So I went to the southern tip of South America, did the Drake Passage, thrown all over the boat for 2 days.
Was that freaking bananas?
It was awesome.
Did you get sick?
Yeah, oh yeah. Everybody does. Everybody does. But the point was, your question was why go when it's the coldest? Because I want to earn my rite of passage, right? And so going across the Drake, that's earning your rite of passage to get to Antarctica. Going up to the Island of No Time in the dead of winter when there's absolutely no light because you're in the Arctic Circle. Well, that's earning your right. That's saying, hey, I did it. The hardest it could possibly be done, you know? Yeah.
And the feelings that you experience in those environments and situations, you can't get that from watching on TV or reading a book or thinking about it. Like the sounds of the ocean and the spray of the waves and the probably chaos on deck with everybody. There's no way you could actually explain that to me for me to feel it. You got to get in it and embrace the suck and just get it going.
That's right.
That's awesome.
And it was a real hoot for sure. And now I feel like, well, I earned it. And to keep in mind, when you go over there on the boat, you've got to come back on the boat. So same old thing coming back, I was on the 4th floor of the boat that we were on, and the waves were hitting my window. They were crashing against my window.
Oh, my gosh. That puts it in perspective.
Yeah. But getting over there, it was definitely worth it because I got to camp out one night and all these things. And you do the polar plunge where you jump in. And so you do those things, and now you look back, and you find yourself going, man, I'm sure glad I did that.
Absolutely.
And like going to this island of no time, you say, well, I don't know if I can even work that in my schedule. Well, it only takes 1 day to get there, stay a couple of 3 days, fly back. Hey, with a weekend, that's only 2 days off work. It can be done.
The world's going to turn without you.
I found that a long time ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, as leaders and entrepreneurs, sometimes that'll hold us back from adventure. That's something that I've been putting a lot of work into myself so the entrepreneurial organization Fort Worth that I'm a member in has really pushed us to not delegate but deputize people. There's a difference there, right? So when you delegate someone, there's still kind of a tight wire string where you're doing a lot of back and forth. Yeah. When you deputize someone to take over an accountability chart within your infrastructure, like, they have autonomy to make decisions and to run it, and there's no back and forth unless needed. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I've been pushing myself to get better at, so that I can actually have peace knowing that the ship is going to sail without me at the helm and go experience life like you're talking about. Because, you know, being in my upper 40s now, I've got to start doing that while my body will do that, right?
Well, by the way, you're good at that, because being in the insurance business before, I dealt a lot with your company, but I dealt a lot with the folks that work for you. And so a lot of those times I could see that they were very professional. They knew exactly what they wanted to do, and they were good with my customers too. And I could tell your fingerprints were all over them. And I knew that you could be back at the office and trust them to do what they need to be doing. And so whenever I'd show up and those guys would be there, I never had a problem at all. I was just glad to see them.
I appreciate the compliment.
And I'm doing more than plugging your business. It's a personal testimony of what you're saying, that you do that. You teach them, you deputize them, they go out there, and you can rest, right? Mm-hmm. You can rest, and it's going to be taken care of. Yeah.
Well, let's get into leadership. So you've led in business, church, and communities for decades. What separates someone who manages people from someone who truly leads people?
I think last week you had his previous pastor of mine, Ken Branham, on there, and I saw a snippet of his earlier today, and he made the comment. He says he'll never ask anybody to do anything that he won't do. And boy, that's Ken Branham.
It is.
If it's going to see somebody in the hospital at 3 a.m, Ken Branham will do that, rather than just calling somebody to go do that. And so that's the way he is. My daughter, Shay, had a roommate at college who later became one of the big wigs of one of the rent-a-car agencies. I forgot the name of it. But she would go out there and wash cars. While rather than having everybody else do it, they would do it too, but she would go out there and wash cars as well. And she one time told me, she goes, I will never have them do something that they won't see me doing. And so I try to do that in my business too. And in my business, a lot of, especially in the older days, a lot of it was making cold calls, which nobody likes that.
Right.
But I would do my stint during the day of making phone calls, so they would know that, okay, he's doing it, and so can I. So I think that's one of the things. I know it's what you do too. You get up on those roofs in the heat of the summer. Hey, I'll do it too. It's your attitude, and they see that and they respect that.
So your positive. I was talking to you about this earlier. Your positivity is contagious. Is that something you've always had, or is that? Or is someone you've intentionally, is that something you've built over time intentionally? As long as I've known you, Jay, I mean, good grief, for context here to our viewers, I've known you since I was in grade school.
Oh, yeah.
We lived in the same neighborhood. And
hey, I remember you when you were born.
You did.
Oh,
That's right.
yeah,
That's right. You did know me as a 0-year-old.
We'd go to your folks' house for dinner, and you were in a high chair.
Man, I can still barely see over them. I'm only 5'8".
Well, I'm on my way down to see you. I was 6 foot. I'm on my way to see you there.
But in all seriousness, as long as I've known you, every memory that I have of you, you're always having a good time, Jay. You're always a light in a room. Your energy, the best way I can explain you is positive and contagious energy. It rubs off on people. Like, I always just want to be a better man after I see and talk to you or see what you're doing, right? So Is that always just been part of you? Is that something you've worked on? Is that in your backbone? How does that work?
I guess it has, and I inherited that from my mom. And you're very kind. You're very humbling to say those things because, an old guy like me needs to hear that every once in a while. But yeah, I kind of got that from my mom. She was always one of those making everybody laugh, and she was always positive about everything. And so I'd like to say that I inherited it, and I'm sure that I did. But when you love the Lord and you know the Lord loves you so much,
Come on.
then you can't help but be positive. Because I look at my life and I think to myself sometimes, how in the world could you possibly love me? Mm-hmm. And he goes, because I do.
It's that simple, isn't it?
It is. And so when I think about, my walk with the Lord has a lot to do with that. And I wish I walked with him better. I really do. But when you walk with the Lord and you just feel his presence, it's easy to be positive. And so, yeah.
The world blossoms in a brighter floral pattern.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of my mom, you need to hear this. My mother was a gigantic Yankee fan.
Good night.
I know.
What is wrong with you and your family?
I don't know. In fact, it's like I tell everybody about Yankee fans. It shows you how wonderful God's grace is because even they can be saved. But we took my son-in-law and I, he's a big Yankee fan too. Half my family are Yankee fans. The other half are Red Sox fans, although we do have my son Sean, who's a gigantic Ranger fan.
A real man.
A real man, yes.
Yeah.
But we took Andrew and I took my mother to see a Yankee game there up at Yankee Stadium. And after the game, everybody gets on to the subway, and you're packed like sardines. My mom was just always, people wanted to, she was so funny, and she was just so vivacious. But on the subway car, she had everybody laughing, and everybody on that subway car was looking at her, wanting her to say something else.
Complete strangers.
Just complete strangers, because that's just the way she was,
Awesome.
So I like to give her credit for that, anyway.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's something I've admired about you. Last question here on leadership. What leadership lesson did you learn the hard way?
Yeah, well, when I first became an agent, my father-in-law was an agent. Your dad and I started almost about the same time.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
I love your dad. I love your dad.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. But I remember my father-in-law telling me on day one, the hardest thing is staff, because they come and go and there's drama. And I think the hardest thing for me in the leadership role was dealing with the drama that comes with you. Hey, you get 3 people in the same room, eventually there's drama, right? It's just the way life is.
Yes, sir. And
dealing with that. But I think a lot of times it was the lesson that I learned from that was just listening, because whatever it is, it could be right or wrong that's causing the drama. It's perception. People have these perceptions about what someone else thinks or whatever. So listening to them and just trying to be the peacemaker, and there you go. Yeah. So I think that was the hardest thing to deal with.
Yeah.
And I wish I could say, after 49 years of being in insurance business, I wish I could say I had it all figured out, but I didn't. But it was a growing process. I think I got better at it. Yeah.
Well, of course you did.
Yeah.
You are verbatim replicating my father's words. He told me the number one problem you're going to have in business, if you go down that road of executing entrepreneur desires, is people, exactly to your point, and all the other things that come with it. If you choose the wrong ones that lie, cheat, and steal to you, those stink because you care for them. And then he also verbatim said toward the end of his career that, son, I learn new things every day. Every day. I learn something new, and you guys were in your industry longer than I've been in mine. And it's a mindset that we have to keep, right?
Yeah.
Because there's always others that know more, and times change, and we have to we have to keep open to that. So,
and everybody's different. Everybody that you hire and everybody has their own personality. There's a situation that's different than it was last year or whenever. And yeah, you just learn to deal with it.
and I have found that they teach me more about myself as well.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. Good job, Josh.
Next topic of discipline and courage, we were at leadership. Now we're going to kind of scale that down into more defined language of discipline and courage. So you've taken some extreme adventures. Mm-hmm. What kind of mental discipline does it take to step into situations most people would run from?
Yeah.
Other than you're just freaking crazy.
Well, that's what a lot of people think.
Adrenaline junkie insanity. Yeah. I mean, I've got all the descriptive terms here.
Yeah, well, a lot of my wife, but hey, and by the way, she's great about it. She knows it's in my system, so go chase the hurricane.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't know what it is, but it's just, first off, and you just covered it in your introduction. I want to say it one more time. I pray another hurricane ever comes to us again, ever. I never pray for them to come. I don't want them to come. But 17 did come, and I went for the eye. It only counts two, by the way, if I'm in the eye. And I have to be in my car or outside of my car. I'm not in some hotel somewhere. It's got to be in the eye of the hurricane. It doesn't count. And there's something about the storm. The hurricane chasing, I can talk about those all day long. I'll make it brief, but you can get there early and look out there, and it's calm. But you know there's a monster out there, and it's coming your way. And it's just nature, the way it comes together. That here comes the wind, and here comes the rain, and you know the eye wall's coming, and that's the big mama wind, right? And so it's just this. I don't get scared. I get excited because it's very dramatic. I mean, here it comes, you know. I wish I could explain it better, but and going by myself, out of those 17, 15 of them I was by myself because it adds to the fear factor. You're all by yourself, you know. And I've had some really, really close calls, but that made it even more exciting.
Tell me about it.
Well,
Have you seen the cow flying across the sky like they got in Wizard of Oz?
I was in Katrina, and I was actually at Ground Zero, which was Gulfport. Everybody thinks New Orleans because they got flooded, but the eye wall came in at Gulfport. I was in the parking lot of the First Baptist Church, which is right on the beach, and it's the church that caved in because of the surge that came in and just washed it away. But I was there when the water started rocking my car. Yeah, that's how close it was. My car started rocking, so I knew I had to kind of start backing away from it, you know.
What kind of vehicle were you in?
Always a rent car. That's right. And so, yeah, I was some kind of a SUV of some sort. But, yeah, it was rocking, and so I started backing back away towards the levee there. But, yeah, now keep in mind, that's me chasing the eye of the hurricane. But I just want to say it one more time. The damage it does is depressing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. I never revel in that. But being in the insurance business, the thing that I try to justify it is I get there early, and because a lot of people, I've helped board up windows. People have questions, and I have the magnets on my car so they know who I am. And so people will come over, hey, what do I do if this happens? What if and I'm able to help them and encourage them. Hey, when it's over with, help is coming. You know, so I try to justify being there by that. But when the storm comes, it's a whole different animal because now it's just me in the storm. Yeah, yeah. And the eye wall is what you want to, you know. And what the challenge of that is that, like, let's say, for example, they say, okay, it looks like the eye's going to come across Gulfport, but they're telling you that 12 hours from now. Well, you go to Gulfport, but here comes the storm. It's starting to come in, but the hurricane's moving. Now it's moving east, and so now you've got to drive your car in the storm over to where the eye wall's going. And sometimes it's 30, 40, 50 miles down the road. You
mean the weather guys aren't 100% accurate on those predictions?
I was in, I forgot the town. It was in the Eastboard there, and the Weather Channel was there. And this was back before we had computers, so we were watching the Weather Channel at a Holiday Inn. And I was looking at it, and I was thinking, you know, the eye wall looked like it's going to go towards North Carolina, where your mother used to live, Wilmington.
That's right.
Yeah. And I said, I think it's going to be moving that way. And the Weather Channel says, well, what do you think it's going to do? You're the Weather Sports Channel guy. I said, I'm going to Wilmington. He goes, we're going to follow you. Oh, what's cool?
The MyPro Show is proudly sponsored by MyPro Construction.
Did you know in the state of Texas, you have to have a license to professionally cut hair, but you do not have to have a license to replace someone's roof commercially or residentially. Choose your contractor wisely. Give MyPro a call and experience the 5-star service.
For my home, it's MyPro.
What senses are pinging at level 10 that makes you want to replicate that dangerous movement in your life?
Yeah, well,
what does it feel like?
You know, to get to the eye where it's totally still, you got to go through the eye wall. There's probably some analogies here about life and going through the eye wall.
What is that like?
The eye wall. Okay, here. So like I've been in 130-mile-an-hour winds. You know where sustaining wind where your car is literally rocking, and I got to be in the car. It doesn't count. So I'm in the car. And now sometimes I'll get out of the car and stand on the downwind side of a 1-story building, and you can just stick your hand there like that. You know, because there it is.
Yeah.
And it's just rocking. You see, you hear trees falling. You see telephone lines popping, and there's sparks everywhere, and all that's going on, and things flying by. You know, I've had things fly by my head easily. In fact, in Katrina, it blew out my windows. But then that comes, and all of a sudden, it's as calm as it can be. It's crazy.
And is it just like you flipped a switch?
Almost. Because once the eye wall goes through, it's pretty quick that the eye's right behind it. And it's so still. And what's interesting is that birds get caught in the eye. Because in the storm, they start looking for help, and they get caught in the eye. And in the eye, it's real noisy. There's birds they're just making all kinds of racket. But it's so still, you could take a helium balloon and let it go, and it'll go straight up in the air. It's crazy. And then here comes the backside. The backside's not near as strong as the front side, but then you know it's coming too. So yeah, that's the.
Is it dark? Typically?
Well, it's definitely dark because of the clouds, but some of the more exhilarating hurricanes I've been through have been nighttime because you really can't see what's going on. And hurricanes.
See, I'm picturing this during the middle of the day.
Some of my best hurricane chases have been at night. At night, there's a phenomenon called turquoise. The lightning is a turquoise color in a hurricane, and nobody really can explain why it is. So all around you at night, you can see this turquoise lightning going off. It's kind of surreal. But anyway, that's hurricane chasing.
Wow. Yeah. Man, I love these stories.
I will say it one more time. My goal is 20, and I hope I don't see 18.
Yeah, I'm tracking with you.
Yeah.
Well, the next one I think they're going to call Sherry. Huh?
I've been married to Hurricane Sherry for 49 years.
Yeah, man. When things get uncomfortable or even dangerous, what keeps you moving forward? You kind of touched on that. I wanted to make sure and hit it. So let's get outside of your dream chasing and talk about from a leadership perspective, like either in your business season or in the leadership positions that you have within like your church communities and things of that nature. So when things get clunky, what keeps you moving when it gets difficult?
Yeah. Oh, I think the key word is because it's difficult, and that's, of course, we all know it's scriptural. It was Paul said, I'd rather boast of my weakness so the power of Christ can dwell in me. Well, when times get so hard in business or in other functions of your life,
family.
Yeah, that's when God is saying, hello, remember me? I'm the one you need to be relying on. Because you're sitting there thinking, wow, yeah. When my daughter's now 44 years old, but when she was 18 years old, she was diagnosed for having lymphoma. The doctor came out. Kim Branham was standing next to me when the doctor came out.
Of course he was.
Yep, that's right. And the doctor had a vial of this stuff they had taken out of her neck, and they said she has lymphoma. Well, at the same time, Sherry's dad had lymphoma, and he died 3 months later. So we knew how serious lymphoma was, okay? Well, I turned around and I said, what are we going to do next? And Sherry said, well, we're going to trust God. And I thought, why didn't I think of that? You know? And so, and Ken Branham was there, and he said, Jay, that's right. He said, these are the times where God's saying, you can't, but I can.
That's right.
And that's where God wants you most of the time. Admitting, I can't, but you can. And so we did. We put our faith. And by the way, she was miraculously healed. It was a miracle. Now, just so you'll know, Sherry's father, 3 months later, went to be with the Lord with the same disease. And somebody might say, well, where's the miracle there? Well, I'll tell you where the miracle is there, because when he breathed his last here on earth, he breathed his next in heaven. That's the miracle of salvation. So, yeah, there was a miracle there, too. Yeah.
He had something, your daughter still had work to do.
Yeah.
For his glory.
Yep.
You
And
know?
she has.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She's
But-
a leader. So something that we...
Let me tell you about my daughter real quick. She has a cooking blog, and she has 6 cookbooks. I'm only saying this because it's kind of fun, but in the front of her cookbook, okay, it says, about me. And she says, I love Jesus, the Red Sox, and my family, and yes, in that order.
Oh, wow.
But she loves Jesus, and she's living for Jesus. That's my point. She loves Jesus. She lives for Jesus, and yeah.
So in our very minimal conversation to prep coming here, which was literally one email back and forth, and you're like, I'm in, brother, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
You know, another characteristic about you is humility that I have learned from you and Rusty and Ken and my dad and all that anyways. You know, being a father now, looking through a different lens than I did, like all of us when we're younger, you know, the real legacy that we leave, a very big part of our legacy that we leave is how our kids turn out.
That's right.
And let me tell you something, brother. Your kids and your stepkids, that are, of course, all grown men and women, they are a very close interpretation in their own sizzle of how you are. And to be direct, Jay, I can't imagine a bigger accomplishment than, I mean, all the business accolades and storm chasing and blah, 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 like all that stuff. Check, done it, shown other people how to do it. But now you have got a legacy through your kids that are still championing the Lord and leadership and loving on folks. I don't want to get into people's personal business without them letting it loose here, but I know a lot of the selfless acts of giving and nurturing that your whole family just continues to do. And I know they're teaching that to their kids, right?
Yep, they are.
And
Well, I appreciate you saying those kind of things. And it's
well, you've been intentional about it, right? So we
Yeah.
keep. I'm very intentional in the MyPro Show for the main focus to be on leadership and discipline in whatever arena that is, right? It's not just in your business; it's in your faith and how you're raising your family, you know, in your marriage, on how we can live life to the fullest, which you are a perfect example of. So this is just great, right? How long have y'all been married?
Sherry and I have been married. This year will be 49 years in June.
49 years.
And going back to what you were just saying about the business, you know, you do things that you ask your staff to do. You climb up on roofs when it's hot and 110 degrees and you're up on the roof. You're doing that. The same with raising your kiddos. You know, they see you reading the Bible every day. Most likely they'll do the same thing in their life. And I know you do that. And I know your wife does that, and your kids will do that, and then their kids. Lo and behold, my grandkids, they read the Bible every day before they go to school. You know, awesome. and why? Well, because every day of my life I saw my mom and dad reading their Bible every day. And so it's what you just said. They're seeing something that you would do. They're going to church because I got them up in the mornings, just like you do. You get them up in the mornings on Sunday morning and you take them to church. Well, they're most likely going to do the same thing. You're being that leader that the Lord's saying, I want you to do this.
And that's the only place I can find peace, Jay. You know, I've been searching for peace. You know, when we allow God to work, my perspective has changed now, and this is why I have peace. But when I allow God to work through me in leadership positions, because everybody's not called to be that, right? It just the days of people jumping on stage and, do your own thing and this and that, it's a very unique place to live. It's, as you know, not as glorious and sexy as everybody says it is. It's a whole nother level of work, which I believe that's where I'm supposed to be, and I'll keep digging in on it, right? But the point that I'm trying to make is that's really the only place I've been able to find peace is when I am connected very closely in my faith with God. That's right. Because, you can get temporary financial peace when you have some big wins, but that can be gone like that.
That's right.
Your health, all kinds of things, right? It can be taken away from it. Taken away. Right now, we are at war. There's wars going on all over in the world. I'm already hearing people absolutely freaking out, living in fear. They don't want to leave their houses. They don't want to take their families out to do anything in the public. Being aware and respectful of what's going on is important, but I absolutely and 100% refuse to live in fear. I'm going to take care of my family. Yeah. I'm an old redneck that's going to take care of my family if you're tracking with me. But I'm not going to live in fear. And it's because that is 100% the work of the devil winning. That is evil.
That's right.
And we've got to encourage each other. And that is a beautiful part of this podcast. And my main vision of it is to encourage people in the right direction where they're not going to live in fear and they're going to wildly enjoy life like you do with the foundation of Christ. And, at the beginning, that wasn't something that we had strategized as a leadership team to be one of the fundamental pillars of the MyPro Show. But every guest that's coming in, that has come in, that's where they fill their tanks with jet fuel.
That's right.
Right? That's where they've got sustainable marriage relationships. I don't know about you, that's the hardest work in my life.
Yeah.
Out of everything that I do, keeping my marriage in one piece is the toughest part, right? And I love her to death.
I know.
It's all my fault, probably. But
you better say it is anyway.
Yeah.
It is written. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and you have been an unbelievable mentor to me. Like you said, you've known me since I was literally born. But I've seen the ripple effect of what you have disciplined in your life to become the leader that you are in all arenas. So hat tip to you there.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that.
So in faith and purpose, how is your faith and you touched on this, but just to kind of pick at it a little bit deeper, how has your faith shaped the way you approach leadership in your life?
I think I finally realized that I ain't that smart, in business and even in church work, anything. I need help. And so that's back to that Paul thing. And he says, you know what, I'd rather say, I'm weak in this area or this area, this area, so that the power of Christ can dwell in me. And so when I jump out there before the gun goes off, that's when I'm in the most trouble. And I realize, well, that didn't go so smooth, and I'm not handling this that great. And it's kind of like the Lord behind me going, hello, why don't you wait on me? And let's do this together. And so in running the business, I finally realized, Lord, how would you have me handle this situation, this drama or this problem or whatever it is? How would you have me handle it? And will you please lead me through it? And I wish I could say I did that every time in the last part of my career, and I would quickly forget it sometimes, and God would tap me on the shoulder again. Did you forget me again?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I love the fact that the Lord is so patient that he doesn't say, you know what, this is the last time. I'm sorry. You've gone out. No, Jay, let's do it again.
Come on.
Let's do it again.
Come on.
And I'll help you through this. And he does.
He does.
Every time.
I believe you.
He wants to.
I believe you.
He does. He wants to. And so that's what I would say. Just stay biblically sound and always remember, I can't, but you can. Just keep saying that, no matter what it is.
Yeah, a similar thing that I've repeated in my mind and soul over and over and over is he's never given up on me, and he ain't going to start now.
So glad.
And
of
I have
that.
to say that with a smile on my face because it's easy for us to give up on ourselves and others, and that's where we get that foundation.
There's another phrase in the Bible. It mentions patience. God has patience with us, but there's another way of that the Bible also uses patience, and it's long suffering. And that's my category. God, I make him suffer because of my stubbornness and whatnot. But he's just so precious to say, I can deal with you, buddy.
Yep.
I can. We can do this together.
Yep.
So yeah.
And some people have a challenge in their faith walk whenever we go through challenging seasons in life. But I truly believe that's when true growth
Yeah.
is accomplished. If all the seas are calm and everything is
That's
comfy,
right.
you ain't growing. You're probably being lazy.
Life can be a Drake passage sometime.
Absolutely.
And you just have hang on to God.
That's right. That's right. If someone listening today feels stuck or like they've stopped chasing dreams, what would you tell them?
Oh, well, I'd tell them, okay, get a bucket list. Get a bucket list. And don't forget those things. And then find one in there and say, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And don't look for reasons why you can't. Just go get the reasons why you can and then go do it. I understand there are some things I would like to do that, one, I'm running out of time, okay, because I got a big bucket list. There's a lot of stuff going on there. There are some things people can't take off work and do all the time. Okay, fine.
Right.
But there's a lot of things that you can make excuses for when really you shouldn't be. Okay, I can do this. I don't go around bragging about the Guinness records, but my dad used to read the Guinness book to me when I was a kid, and I always thought, that'd be so cool. Well, that's how you going to get a Guinness record? Well, I found an event that I thought, well, I can do that. And so there were some obstacles along the way. There was some planning along the way, but I'll tell you what wasn't in the way, and that was my excuses. I wasn't going to make any more excuses about it. Let's just get it done. And I think that's the answer to a lot of chasing dreams and doing this, that, or the other.
What are some of them? If you're okay with sharing, what are some of your Guinness records?
Oh, okay. Well, there's two. Now, one of them's been beat since then, but that's okay. We had it at one time. Both of them have to do with driving through the 48 states.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. One is driving through the 48 states using the least amount of fuel, okay? And the other one is driving through the 48 states in the shortest time. And so we've actually done that one 4 times because people kept getting close to our record. Now, recently, somebody beat our record a couple of years ago with the time thing, but they broke some of the Guinness records because the records they have rules. But we still, abiding by the rules, we still hold a record of 90. We've done the 48 states in 93 hours and some change. And then we had the record for driving with the least amount of fuel, but that's been broken since because now they've got these cars that run on batteries and things like that. But anyway, that's the 2 records. I'm very proud of those 2, by the way, because God is so good. The lady from Guinness called me, and she said, we just sent you the book. And I said, I just got it. She goes, well, look on page 38. So I flipped over to page 38, and there was a little blurb right there. And it says, Jay Lowe and Ted Jacobs drove through the 48 states using X number of gallons of gas for the record. I said, that's an answered prayer. She goes, oh, yeah? Flip it over to 37. I flipped over. They gave us the whole page. And they had pictures of us in the car and all kinds of stuff. And I thought, only God could do that, right?
That's cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah. Well, do you want to talk about any of these crazy 6,500-mile expeditions through the Australian outback or Bangladesh or anything like that?
Well, all of those were mission trips.
Okay.
In fact, this thing I'm going to go to in the island of no time, I'm make that into a mission trip. I'll go up there and I'll be handing out Bibles.
Of course you are.
And because it's an opportunity. I mean, you got to think about some of those people that never heard the gospel before. Well, they're going to hear the gospel and they at least have a Bible in their hand. So that's easy to do.
Yep.
Take Bibles with you, hand them out. Well, how do you hand them out? You find somebody on the street and you give one, right?
Yep. Don't overanalyze it.
The trip to the 8-day camel ride was going out into the wilds of Mongolia, and people live in these round tents called gers, and you share the gospel with them, and you give them Bibles, and the Amazon thing the same way, and it's just in Bangladesh, hiking and sharing the gospel, yeah, and so and then reap the rewards of seeing people saved and baptizing them in the Amazon. I baptized some people in the Amazon, and I'll never forget the missionary saying, "Don't worry, the piranha usually don't bother you."
Oh my gosh!
May the Lord say that.
Yeah.
Just get out of here. But
Well, it wouldn't be a Amazon water experience for you if it wasn't full of piranhas.
That's right.
You'd probably go back in piranha season if there was one.
I would have been disappointed if he had not said that. To be honest with you. But a lot of that had to do with mission trips, and there again, I have a friend of mine. She worked for me for 25 years. Michelle, love her. She's like a daughter to me. She's about to go on her first mission trip in Africa, and I told her, you said, you will never come back the same, because that's when you realize that you can share the gospel wherever you are, and people are hungry for the gospel, not only in Africa but here, all around you. And so I'm excited for her to go. Mission trips are very accomplishable. I mean, she just set her mind up. She had obstacles in the way. There's some finances. Well, she took care of that. People said, wait a minute, I'll help you with that. See, God was saying, no, don't. You can't, but I can, And so she got time off work and all that. And so she's going.
That's awesome.
Just don't let the excuses get in the way.
Yep.
Let God deal with excuses.
Right.
That's what he does. He
Yes,
deals
sir.
with those things.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
A couple of guests ago, Cheryl Gillihan, just a vibrant individual. A big season in her life was traveling across the world and translating the Bible in different
Oh, my
languages.
goodness.
That's like her passion. And
Wow.
The beautiful stories that we got to learn from her on executing her wild dreams of, travel and helping others during the meantime.
Oh, my goodness.
Of translating these, the language of the greatest book ever written for people to, and so she taught me something, Jay, that I've never heard before. That's really cool. When you need to speak to someone in the language that they dream in. Think about that.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Ooh, yes.
Because a lot of people
Yeah.
that are a lot smarter than us can speak in multiple different languages. What language do you dream in? That's the language that she likes to communicate with these folks on that level, right?
That's beautiful.
Isn't that deep?
Yes, it
I
is.
never heard that.
Me
I never
neither.
thought about that.
I'm not going to forget that one.
And
Wow.
so, yeah, during that could be an encouragement for you whenever you're going halfway around the world or wherever that may be, when you're handing these out. What translation do they dream in?
And that's a beautiful thing. I'm telling you right now. And you stop and think about it. The Bible says, my word does not return void. Take her, for example. What was her first name?
Cheryl?
Cheryl. When she gets to heaven, these people that are going to come up to her and say, I never met you, but I got a hold of one of your Bibles that you translated, and I'm here because you showed me Jesus. And so handing out Bibles, and you never know. Because God's saying, hey, look, this is my word. I'm not going to let it come back void. I'm going to be fruitful.
Yeah, and we just got to plant the seed.
We're farmers for Jesus.
Yeah, that's what we have to focus on. And that's, I
Yeah.
think back to that whole paralysis by overanalysis factor in faith walk is a lot of people think you got to go all the way. You got to lead them and do this and that, right? My understanding is we're primarily called to plant seeds.
That's right.
Right? And then
That's right.
the rest will continue. So
You know what? I tell my Sunday school class this all the time. I tell everybody this. Read your Bible in public. Okay? Do your Bible study in public. At a Starbucks, wherever. Okay? I guarantee you the Lord will open up opportunities to share because people will ask you, what are you reading? Mm-hmm. And he's just delivering one to you. I had a guy yesterday come up and sit next to me and goes, what are you reading? I read my Bible. He was a Hindu. But that happens all the time. So I just want to just say that. If you're looking for opportunity to share the gospel, and it encourages other believers too. When you're studying the Bible in public, maybe I need to be reading my Bible too. But people will come up to you and ask you, and it's a perfect opportunity to say, well, I'm reading my Bible. I always say the same thing. It's the greatest love letter ever written, so why not read it every day? Do you have a Bible? Well, no, I really don't. Get into that. Oh, well, here, let me share it with you.
Yeah.
Have a seat. Had a lady 3 weeks ago. I was reading my Bible at a Starbucks. She sits down in front of me.
at the same table.
Huh?
Come on.
Prove it. That's what she said.
Oh, wow.
Prove it. I said, okay, let's talk about it. So we got to share, and she listened. I explained to her the validity of the gospel message and how it all came about, and I'm quick to say, look, man, I'm a sinner. I have no right to step into heaven except for one thing. Jesus said, I'll take your sins. I'll pay for the debts. I'll make you right. And she listened. But see, I just want to say that. Read your Bible in public. It opens up opportunities to share the gospel.
Well, that's a perfect example of, just an action item that we can put.
Yeah.
Like, just don't think about it, just do it, right?
Just do it.
And we're like, oh, I don't know if I have discipline or if I'm a good leader before you come up in here. Come on, Jay. All these things that you just do as, it's just second nature to you is a perfect example of how discipline has made you the leader that you are in everything that you do. I mean, we haven't even touched on, and I know you probably got to run here.
No.
But
I'm retired. I have nothing to do between now and my funeral.
Except chase hurricanes and fly around the world. And,
yeah, that stuff like that.
yeah.
Oh, by the way, speaking of that, another thing, I get off the subject, I realize, about dream chasing in things like mission trips. Sometimes people say, well, I just don't have the money for that. But check into it. You'll find out some things are not that expensive.
Right?
It's just an excuse that the devil will put in our heads, but you find out there's ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else are you going to spend your time and money on?
Yeah.
If you turn off all these insignificant materialistic objects.
Yeah.
And you decide to spend energy and time on proactive, activities away from the frickin' sofa couch, right?
Right. You know how much my airfare is? I already checked it. The airfare to fly to the town that's close to this island, which is an hour and a half away, the airfare is $700 round trip. $700. The car rental is going to be $45 a day. I'm going to be over there for about 4 days. Do the math.
Yeah.
It's not that much.
You can spend that much if you stay in town and take your wife out to dinner every day. Literally. You probably spend more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So,
yep.
well, hey, if you could leave our listeners with one message about leadership, discipline, and chasing dreams, what would it be?
Okay, get up. Whether it's an adventure like the Island of No Time or Mongolia trip, whatever, get a bucket list. Write it down or put it in your head. And then pick one. And don't listen to the excuses why you can't. Just step forward and say, okay, Lord, if you want me to go, you'll open the door. And I'll depend on you. And then it takes effort. You know, God's. By the way, there's people throw this around all the time. God helps those who help themselves. That's not in the Bible. Okay, that's not in the Scripture at all. But God, will you guide me through this, and I'll depend on you. And He'll but I need some effort from you. You need to step forward in faith. That's the step. Step forward in faith, and then let me guide you. And if He doesn't want you to go, whatever it is, whether start a business or go on a crazy trip or whatever, He'll stop you.
Oh, yeah.
And that's fine.
It's happened to me.
Shut the door. That's fine. I'd rather not go through. I'd not rather go kicking the door open, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's it. Just get a bucket list. God, is this okay with you? That's okay with me. Then I'll leave it up to you, and you show the way. And He'll go, fine. All right, you take a step.
Good.
There you go.
Well, you know, as we're about to enter into 2026 Major League Baseball, maybe a true native Texan like myself, our Rangers can replace the shirt of that dreary red mess you got on you.
Like that's the first time I've heard that today. I have no hope. We'll see, right?
We got to go to a game, man. It's right there.
Well, when the Sox come down, it would be fun to go with
Do you know if they're playing us?
We always do. We're in the American League.
That's right.
We're here every year.
But I mean, yeah.
Yeah, we're here every year. Just like y'all will come to Fenway every year because you're in the American League. So we're always here for
That's
sure.
right. We've tried to go to a couple, but calendars conflict.
Yeah.
So, well, listen, Jay, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. You've been an inspiration to me.
No, thank you. That's very
through
humbling.
life. I have had the luxury, and I mean that specifically, I've had the luxury of being able to learn from real mentors like you.
Thank you.
Okay? I've been very blessed to watch you and to hear you play your guitar and sing and to lead others and to see the ripple effect of positivity in every arena I've seen you walk through. And I'm unbelievably honored you came here.
Thank you.
And I know you're going to continue to chase your dreams and to inspire others around. And, you know, I am part of your ripple.
Well, thank you. Very humbling to say that.
Yes, sir. So,
And my next bucket list item, other than the Island of No Dream, Base Camp Everest. That's on my list.
wow.
Okay?
Base Camp Everest.
Come with me.
Get it going.
Thank you for having me. You
You bet.
It's very humbling.
Yeah,
the
it's
things
been
you say.
fun. I think that
Thank you.
I think our listeners will be significantly surprised. And, you know, this whole faith talk that a lot of people kind of scurried around for a long time is becoming really cool.
Yes.
It really is becoming super cool. I mean, the biggest guys and gals that are out there in the world are not holding back anymore.
Nope, they're not.
And they're talking about how relaxing and relaxing from an anxiety perspective, but energetic from a chaotic perspective. I mean, the cat's out of the bag, man. Like, it works.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I do.
And it's so colorful and fun, and I appreciate you being wildly open about your faith and success. And I love you, brother. Have a blessed day.
Thank you very much for having me.